just you get to choose. Right? Like here's the scenario. The environment gives us something which can be perceived as negative, can be perceived as not working, can be perceived as problematic. The world's ending. So we get to choose to see it like that, or we get to choose to see it as an opportunity.
So clearly that it's my responsibility now to do that for other people. If I have information and other people's success is my success, and vice versa.
Because you know what, like the challenges or the roadblocks are the journey themselves.
There's no big things. It's all little things compounding on top of each other. We welcome Tim Szczygiel, CEO and President of Sales Chain LLC, to this week's episode of Truth Seekers. An experienced Chief Executive Officer, Tim has demonstrated a successful history of working in the computer software industry and is skilled in sales, professional services, and software as a service, or SaaS. After selling his first company, Novometric Development Group, in 2001, Tim founded Sales Chain as a lease portfolio management and CRM tool with the goal of helping salespeople sell more. Another way to put it, Sales Chain is a cloud-based business workflow automation solutions company. Today, Sales Chain has grown to serve customers in 36 states and 3 Canadian provinces with thousands of users across the countries. With a growing tool set, Sales Chain helps businesses develop greater efficiency and profitability through better organization and powerful automation while building a better data set in the process. Why does Tim interview people 4 times before hiring them? What's Tim's philosophy of communication? And why is this the number one thing he looks for when hiring people for his leadership team? Why is having fun not only important, but absolutely necessary to Tim's company culture? And what happens to others when they witness a passionate person? All this and more as we welcome Tim Szczygiel to this week's episode of Truth Seekers. All right, returning for another episode of Truth Seekers. Here we are, Coach Nick, Coach Josh. Find us at proadvisorcoach.com, anywhere you watch your podcasts. We're introducing Tim today. Tim is a business owner and has some great experience in the industry. We're looking to pick his brain about a few things. Tim, welcome to Truth Seekers.
Hello, Josh. Hello, Nick. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So did some pre-show notes about experiences and how experiences shape our outlook on life. And that's a lot of what Coach Nick and I coach to a lot with our clients, that we perceive the world a certain way based on experiences that we've been through. Do you find that to be true in your business?
I find it true in my business and in life, right? And there's no more experience that's better than making mistakes.
Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, Josh and Nick, I think that mistakes help us learn what to do and what not to do, right? And as I say to folks who work for me, that if you're not making mistakes, now calculate, I'm not saying, big, catastrophic things, but if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not trying and to reach a goal that's far enough ahead of you, right? And, mistakes, you're going to make them and you're going to learn from them, and they shape the things that you ultimately do.
I think this topic is so important because, we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's not that we purposely make mistakes. It's just that we don't know. If we want to grow and we want to expand our businesses, if we want to expand our, sales or our service offerings, sometimes we don't know. It's a trial and error process. And Coach, you have thousands of hours of coaching experience under your belt. And I'm sure you see this every day. What is like a common thread or a commonality? You can either take this in any direction, like a fear that people must overcome to do that, or how can you get to the point to be okay with not knowing, or being okay with potentially making a mistake?
Let me preface that by giving you an extension of something Tim kind of pushed into my mind a little bit there. I'm a very big Formula One fan, and I know that there's a lot of famous quotes from racing drivers that say, like, if you feel in control of your car, you're probably not pushing it quite far enough. But to your point, Tim, not catastrophically, but just a little bit, so it feels a little bit out of control. I think that people's default expression is the fear of losing something we've got or not getting something we want to get. And if we think that there's a potential that something's going to go wrong and take something away, then we're going to stay in that safe place, stay in that comfort. I think having a
Absolutely.
baseline understanding of like, look, that's where the growth really comes from. That's where we can expand ourselves, and it's okay, right? I mean, the word that you used, Tim, mistake, just a mistake. Let's just do another one. Try again.
Well, listen, I think it comes down to leadership. Okay, and there's a couple of different areas that I think about when I talk about this kind of topic. I think there's leadership, and one of the main responsibilities as a business leader is that you want to hire good people, and when you hire those good people, you want to give them a good direction, and you want to say this is generally where we want to go, and then you kind of step back and you got to let them do it and say get us to where we want to go, And then you have to trust that they're going to do it, and you have to monitor it. And then if they come back and say, you know what, that direction isn't right, or our method of getting there isn't right, then we're going to change. And you have to enable them to do that. And so I think a lot of times people are too negative. Some leaders are too deliberate, and they say a single mistake and you're out, and that's just not my style. And maybe those people aren't entrepreneurs. Maybe those are people who work for other people. But, I think that as an entrepreneur, I want my people to make calculated risks, and you don't achieve more without that.
Yeah, for sure. And I love what you said about trust.
Mm-hmm.
As the leader, giving the trust and saying, hey, here it is, go for it. How do you, because this part fascinates me, I flip it around. How do you create the environment, Tim, in your experience, where employees can come in and feel like it really is true for them that it's okay if they screw up and make a mistake?
You mean, how do I instill that in them?
Yeah, how do you create that environment so they really feel like they're safe, that they
Well,
can?
yeah. I mean, I think you have to you have to really be open and honest, and you have to communicate. I mean, communication is really hard, because I think there's that fine line of establishing discipline, but at the same time, you want them to have that feeling that the stick isn't going to come down on them. And the only way you can do that is through example. And I think that you have to talk about change. You have to talk about the risks and again, I think there's risks that a company is willing to take to succeed, and there's risks that are not acceptable. And I think that's important. That's part of the communication process. But I think good people know, listen, before they come into the office, before we hire them, we're bringing people in that know that we are asking them to do something extraordinary, and that we are expecting them to achieve success at higher levels. And those types of people, know it's instilled in them. And I think as part of the recruiting process, it's interesting. Recently, I implemented a new policy for myself and in my hiring. And I don't know if I'm losing good people, but I actually implemented a policy where I interview somebody 4 times. I know that seems extreme, but senior level people, I want to really make sure that I understand who they are and what they are, and they understand what my expectations are and who I am and what we are. And it's almost like, going out on a few dates before, getting married and so forth. We really want to know that person, and we want them, more importantly, to know who we are.
I think that topic's so important, because when you talk about building out a culture, it extends as far as the leadership team, right? And it starts with you as a business owner. But I'm wondering, what types of qualities or skills do you look for, either negative or positive, in that 4 interview process? Like, why did you land on the number 4? Mm-hmm. And then what do you look for in that process?
Well, when I interview somebody, the most important skill or the things that I look for, number 1, are communication. Mm. And I could have somebody who is not capable of speaking, but if they can communicate in writing, they don't have to be good at everything. But my point is they have to be able to articulate and be able to communicate in some way, shape, or form. They all don't have to be good at everything. But I think that cultural fit, I think that, you can't bring somebody in who's used to working in a corporate environment, who's looking for a social experience if you have a small company, right? So, I look at somebody, who's a young, maybe looking for that, let's go out and have a beer every afternoon. That's not going to fit in a company that is got a bunch of people with families, and raising young kids. But also that go-to, what we're talking about, risks. If somebody is not willing to take risks, if somebody says, give me a spec and tell me explicitly what you want me to do, then that's not going to fit with me. Because for me, I throw an idea on the whiteboard and I say, go do it and come up with something. And if you have questions, come back and ask me, but I'm off doing 5 other things and I'm on the plane to the West Coast, and that person's got to be comfortable. So those are the types of skills that I'm looking for. So I can teach somebody to do a lot of things. I don't have to have someone that matches my skill set explicitly, but I'm much more interested in somebody who's eager and who's culturally a good fit.
Gotcha.
And you have to have a sense of humor.
Oh, I like that. There you go. So, and why 4? That seems like a specific number. Why not 3 or 5?
Interviews?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just a number I came up with, because I figured after 4 times of meeting me, someone's either going to love me or hate me. So I figured I'd give them a clear shot, but not too much. I don't want to put them, torture them. But no, and I just think that you see people in different ways, and you have to let people, because especially now, like with the market, okay, that we're in, 90%, 99% of the people that I'm looking to recruit are working. So, I'm taking them from a good job already. And so that means that I have to sell them on Sales Chain, and also I'm going to be, assuming the responsibility that I'm taking somebody away from what is probably a pretty good situation. So I have to be sure that, that they're going to come in and they're going to fit and they're not going to want to leave and have ruined that opportunity where they are. So there's a responsibility there as well.
So if you don't mind, talk a little bit more about Sales Chain. I've been doing a bunch of reading up on it, and it seems like a super interesting company. Would love to know, how it started, where it's going right now. It sounds like you're growing if you're hiring, right?
Yeah, we're definitely growing. I mean, I sometimes, I feel guilty a little bit saying it, but, COVID was a huge growth opportunity for us because we are, first of all, Sales Chain is a business workflow automation solutions company. We're a cloud-based solutions company. We have customers all over North America, and we serve the office technology space. So people who are reselling office technology, copiers, printers, phone systems, computers, mailing systems, that kind of stuff. And on companies that are providing IT services with regards to managing networks and so forth. And so, so we work with a lot of great companies and we enjoy it.
Awesome, man. And growing and doing well, right? So talk to me about, how long you've been in business and where it's going right now.
We've been in business for 19 years.
Wow.
And so I started the company and this is actually my second software company. I originally started on Wall Street and then went over to work with a number of the GE companies, ending with mostly GE Capital and leasing environment. And then I left that and started my first company, which was a point of sale credit financing system. So, you go online and, you enter your information and get a loan. Well, I created one of the first one of those and sold that company during the .com bubble. And then took a couple of years off and then I started Sales Chain. And my goal with Sales Chain was to, when I was with GE Capital, I created GE Capital's first e-commerce platform for the small ticket leasing business. And that was really fun. But what I was only able to help people to the extent that they were doing business with GE Capital, which, it's not a bad thing, but it was limiting because, people who sell stuff, they never just have one financing partner, right? And so when I left GE Capital, I created my first my company. I created this and sold it to finance companies. So Bank of America and so forth and so on, Mellon Bank and so forth. But again, I was limited to the extent that I could only help people do business with the relative institution. So when I sold that company, when I created Sales Chain, my goal was I want to help people who sell stuff. And I don't care what they sell. I don't care who they sell it to. I don't care who they finance it with, but I want to have fun helping people sell stuff. And that's really where Sales Chain came from.
Well, I'm sure this is sticking out for Coach as well, because we preach it in our company, having fun and a sense of humor. Why is that important to your culture, what you're building?
It's not important. It's absolutely necessary because, we got to make a living, right? And we got to work every day. And it would be pretty miserable if I didn't like what I did. But also, I think just the nature of what we do with companies is that we like you, we coach, and more than our software, it's a vision and it's a support mechanism. And so we provide a lot of hand-holding support to our customers to help them achieve their goals. And sometimes helping them with their goals means helping them define what those goals really are,
Mm. What's that speak to you, Coach? We talk about strategic vision all the time, starting with the end in mind. What jumps out?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Tim, because I love the evolution of Wall Street to GE to the first company to seeing the limits and then breaking out, working within the creation of perfection within a limit, and then knowing that actually perfection is not good enough. I've got to break out and create a place where sounds like a sales chain that you have is like, well, now you get the flexibility to work with who you want to work with. There's no limits around that. Having fun doing it. It's a theme that I always see from the people that really are successful is because it's such a cliche. It almost sounds trite to say it, but it's so important because if you're in a place, and a lot of people that see this and listen to this that might be in a place of thinking about where they've just started their business, or they're just thinking about starting a business, or they're thinking about breaking out to a different career or something else, and you're thinking, is it really available for me? And that key thing that you shared, Tim, was that it's necessity to have fun. We have to be thinking about this as being a long term. Do I want to spend my life doing this? Do I want to spend a significant amount of my day, my week doing this? Is it going to provide enough value to others? What's that?
It's about passion.
About passion. It really is.
You gotta have passion in what you do. People buy passion. Okay. It's something I have really, and it's interesting. My son Matthew joined us as our marketing manager last year, and he has brought more energy into the company. I'll be very honest. I think that, and working with him is fun, but when we go out and do presentations, customers look at us and they're like, oh my God, you guys are having fun. You like what you're doing. We want to be part of that. And so it's self-serving in that sense, but also you mentioned something about change and limits and so forth. And I think that one of the things that I have found with what we're doing with Sales Chain is that we have not put ourselves or defined ourselves in a box, where this is what we are. I would never put myself in a box. I am whatever my customers need me to be. Okay. And as my customers grow, those needs. So for example, we started at the company really kind of as a CRM, kind of vertically focused CRM. Right. Okay. That's almost the last thing I talk about now. I only talk about CRM because we have to take Salesforce out. Okay. And so, it's a necessary part of what we have to discuss. But business workflow automation, we're much more focused on pricing deals, documenting deals, paying people commissions, workflow. A deal is just a piece of paper until it's delivered. And so the entire process of fulfillment is something that we have automated. And we've done that not because, it's not because we came up with an idea that no one else in the world has come up with. It's just that we take that common problem, that common process, and we improve it. And we've just continuously added that sort of functionality to our system. And when the customers see that you are capable, when they see that you are passionate, they're going to ask you to do more things that even though you may not do them today because they trust you, they will ask you to do them. And that's how we've succeeded.
It's almost seems so simple, doesn't it? But I think that's the case that because it seems simple, people don't tend to think it's that important. Right? It's like that passion. If you think about what we're doing all the time, you could call it sales, but I prefer to think of it as influencing, and that we're doing that all the time in all parts of our business and all parts of our life. If you're passionate about something, if you're emotionally charged about something, people feel that. And it's just a transference of emotion. And people go there, I want to work with Tim. Like, of course I want to work with Tim.
Yeah.
He's passionate, he gets it, I trust him. So whatever comes up, I back to that word again, right? And that comes back full circle to having the right people in the team to enable them to make mistakes because of the trust, because of the passion.
Well, that's it. And then back to the people, okay, and is making sure that they have the tools and the resources to do, and the trust to get the job done, and the discipline to get it done. And, you know, it's interesting, you know, when I back to this whole, you know, box issue and what we do and how we do it, you know, it's interesting when I go into a company and someone questions, oh, do I need you, or do I, you know, is it right for me? You know, I immediately just look at the owner and I say, listen, as a business owner, you've got, you know, decisions that you're making every day and choices that you're making every day. And you've got problems that you're dealing with every day. Tell me their top 3 problems that you're dealing with today. If I can solve one of them, would you buy my product? I mean, because the leader of the company has big problems, not little problems. So if I can solve 1/3, take 1/3 of his problems off of his desk, he's pretty much going to buy my product every time. Okay. And now, and so I say that, and then at the same time, you know, changing the subject for a second, you know, because it's something just came to my mind. One of the things that passion and so forth helps with is when a lot of times I talk to business owners and they say, I've, you know, invested in this, and I am, you know, the business is it's functioning poorly, but I invested in this, I made a commitment to it. And, you know, getting an owner to change their mind is, I think, one of the most important skills that a leader has to have, is the ability to say, I made a mistake, and to change their mind. I don't care, you know, if you bought a car and you don't like it anymore, you don't think twice about trading it in and just taking the hit and buying a new one, right? And so business owners sometimes, as a coach, you know this, you've got to just say, okay, at the time you made that decision, it was the right decision to make. Today, the dynamics have changed. Your understanding has changed. And so now, as a leader, you have to make another decision. Do I keep going down that path knowing that it's the wrong path? You know, it's a straight path, and you know, you're not going to make it curved. It's straight. And so you have to make another decision. That's a hard thing for a lot of leaders to do.
Yeah, it's the concept of looking always forward, never back. And Coach and I like to say there's no bad decisions. There's just opportunities to make more decisions. That's what decisions give us.
Yeah, I always say there's no bad decisions, but there's decisions that I might make differently today, right?
Sure. And it comes back to today. What decision can you make today based on those decisions to move forward?
Exactly.
So it's all about moving forward. Mm-hmm.
Are you doing your business justice by sticking with just with a bad employee? Okay. If you hire somebody, you pay them a lot of money, and they're not working out, what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, Tim, there's a lot of wisdom flying around here. What we like to do at the end is just grab some takeaways. So maybe something you might share with, you know, somebody like Coach said, who's thinking about starting their own business or is in that spot right now, maybe a year or two in, is struggling with a few things. What might you want to share with them, considering your experience and what you've been through?
Well, you know, I think that it's a good question. And I think that the experiences that I've had that I would share are as follows. First of all, entrepreneurs, there's one thing that every entrepreneur has to have, and that is the love of experience, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows every day. Because if you don't have thick skin in, you know, stomach lining, okay, you got to have a good stomach. It's the wrong thing to do. You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you can't go home at night and accept the fact that, you know, you're not getting paid, okay, everybody else got paid and you didn't, and you know, and you got to have a support team at home too. So I think that that's very important. I think that, you know, everything costs more than you think it's going to cost. And so I think be prepared for that, and just make good financial decisions, but also make good gut calls. I always tell people, if your gut's telling you something, it's probably right. So if you look at a problem, you look at an issue, trust your gut before you trust any number or stat on a piece of paper.
That's so true. And that's kind of circling back to how we started this conversation with experiences shaping our vision. No one's been through the experiences that we've been through in our lives. So if you ever seek advice, it's always going to be from someone who has different experiences. And that's good. And that's fine and dandy. We want those. We want different perspectives. But if we have a gut feeling about something, like you're saying, we're usually right. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, trust yourself. And I think that just because somebody's smart, let me rephrase that. Just because someone says they're smart doesn't mean they are smart. Just because they have a PhD or something on their title doesn't mean they're smart. And they don't necessarily have the stomach to be an entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur means taking a risk.
Well, Coach, how about you? Something you're taking away, or advice you'd like to give, or a common thread that you're pulling out from this conversation?
Yeah, for me, to sum up what you said previously about the decision stuff, Tim, I think for me it's the reminder of the cost of inaction. The sunk cost fallacy. We've paid for it. We'll keep it there. That employee, it's the employee that we don't get rid of is the one that costs us the most. And to realize that any time we spend going down a place what we know is not the right way, it's extra time. We've got to take steps back just to get back to zero before we do in the direction we do have to go. Massive cost of inaction. So yeah, by doing the status quo, it's way costlier than we often realize.
Absolutely. And I think that, every owner that I talk to, has made a mistake. Every owner that I've talked to has wished that they, didn't hire that person or didn't invest, but they all moved forward. They all continued and with a goal. So anyway.
I think part of that continuance is my takeaway today is the fun and the passion. When you have that passion about something, those road bumps, those little hiccups along the way don't hurt as much, right? You mentioned the highest, the highs, the lowest of the lows. It makes the lowest of the lows a little bit more, I guess, easy to stomach, because you get to show up the next day and you still love what you do. You're still in the industry of doing what you love. And I think you can't lose that way, even when things get tough. And like Coach and I reframe all the time, usually that means something really good's about to happen. You're right on the brink of something, some sort of breakthrough that maybe you struggled to wrap your head around the identity of changing that way, but it kind of forces you in that direction. And all of a sudden, something great, something beautiful that you didn't expect is right around the corner.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Awesome, Tim. So maybe I'll give you the last word. Anything else that you might want to share today?
Oh boy. I think I said everything. Buy Sales Chain.
There we go.
Also a good mark of a leader as well, right? It's like knowing when you've said everything and plug your company.
Exactly. And if you guys have anything else you want from me, by all means, we can, you can call me and we can talk again. But no, this was fun. And, I hope that, hope you guys are successful.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you
coming.
coming.
Take care, guys.
Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Seekers. We appreciate your interaction. So please comment, like, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want more, check out some of our links. Links to our masterclass, The Achiever's Mindset, and come join our LinkedIn group. And what do you want to see more of? Remember, we're here to share the simple secrets of successful. So help us do that. What do you want to see? What do you want to see more of? Thanks, and see you again next time.